The trial was heard over 6 weeks between September and November 2019. Over the course of trial, the prosecution produced 1,672 documentary evidence from 93 witnesses, comprising of judicial officers, bank officers, car dealers, a digital forensics investigator from the IT Protective Security Services Sdn Berhad ITPSS, a handwriting analysis expert from the Physical Evidence Section of Department of Scientific Services DSS, and investigating officers from the Anti-Corruption Bureau ACB and the Royal Brunei Police Force RBPF. The first defendant was convicted on all 14 charges against her for offences of criminal breach of trust over $15.75 million, which she had withdrawn from official receivers' accounts under her control and management as a deputy official receiver. The case marks the largest amount of money embezzled by a public servant in Brunei Darussalam. A total of 255 judgment debtors who made regular payments were affected by the crime committed by the first defendant. As a consequence of her crime, a large number of the judgment debtors were not able to pay their debts. The prosecution produced 608 pieces of withdrawal slips, which were made on 71 different days. Evidence from the handwriting expert confirmed that the signatures of the person making the withdrawals were made by the first defendant herself. This was never challenged by the defense. The first defendant claimed that she received $5 million from a Malaysian national for being a witness for confidential agreements, of which she could not disclose any further information due to the extreme confidential nature of the agreements. The court found that this allegation was incredible. She has offered no explanation of why she was given cash gifts continuously or what her purpose was in relation to the confidential agreements. Even without evidence from the Malaysian national in court to deny this, the judge found no other support at all to the first defendant's claim. The first defendant had never offered any explanation to the ACB or the RBEPF of why she withdrew $15.75 million in cash, or even as to what she has done with the cash. However, documents containing her annotations and also letters to banks suggest that those cash were deposited into fixed accounts open for the interest of the debtors. The prosecution has called officials from banks who confirmed that there were no such accounts, and though the first defendant was entitled not to give evidence, the judge found it surprising that she did not want to explain where those fixed deposit accounts are. She is the one who must know where those accounts are, yet she chose to remain silent on this. The defendant's counsel, Simon Farrell QC, forwarded a series of complaints in his submissions to the court. In particular, he commented on the inadequacy of the prosecution's case as it focuses exclusively on the judgment debtors' accounts. Furthermore, he highlighted that the prosecution did not provide evidence of creditors who claimed that they were not paid from the cash withdrawn by the first defendant. However, the prosecution called officers of the Judiciary Department who examined documents on the bankruptcy cases and confirmed that no payments were made to judgment creditors except in 11 of those cases. The judge found that there was no useful purpose to call all the creditors in respect of the 255 cases when the prosecution has produced banking evidence to show that the first defendant was siphoning large amounts of cash from the official receiver's accounts under her control. The judge also saw no criticism of how the ACB and the RBPF investigated the case. The first defendant was also convicted for a charge of criminal breach of trust of cash amounting to $35,000 paid over the counter of the official receiver's counter between April and May 2017. Though her counsel suggested that the cash was taken by a previous employee of BIBD who was tasked to collect cash from the official receiver's chambers to be deposited into the relevant bank accounts, the judge agreed with the prosecution that there was an irresistible inference that she misappropriated the $35,000. Justice Luga Mawson was satisfied beyond reasonable doubt that the first defendant knew that the source of the $10,000 banknotes she was alleged to use in the commission of money laundering were proceeds of a criminal breach of trust. Subsequently, the first defendant was convicted on all 10 charges of money laundering for depositing proceeds of a crime into her joint bank account with her husband, using the proceeds as part payment for the purchase of a car, exchanging $10,000 notes into small denominations, and also transferring the proceeds of a crime from her local bank to bank accounts in the United Kingdom. The second defendant faced 8 charges of money laundering for using money which were proceeds of his wife's criminal breach of trust. Throughout the trial, he maintained that he believed his wife when she told him that her flow of cash came from the Malaysian national and her late brother. Although the judge could accept that the first defendant's brother may have given her some cash, there was nothing to support that these were in substantial amounts. As a former deputy public prosecutor and a judge working mainly on criminal matters, the second defendant must have known of the concerns of money laundering. He was an educated, intelligent criminal judge with a salary of about $4,800. He must have been aware that they were living far above their emoluments and should have raised inquiries. The judge did not doubt that the second defendant knew the source of money used by him and his wife were from judgment debtors' accounts under the control of his wife. Consequently, the second defendant was convicted of 6 money laundering offences. He was acquitted of 2 offences of depositing $10,000 notes into his joint account with the first defendant, as witnesses from the bank could not be certain who of the 2 deposited the money into their joint account. The matter will be heard again on Saturday, the 18th of January 2020 at 9:30 in the morning. In the meantime, the defendants applied to continue to be released on bail, but the application was objected by the prosecution. Judge Luger Mawson denied the application and ordered for the defendants to be remanded in prison. The public prosecutor was represented by a team led by Jonathan Kaplan QC, with Deputy Public Prosecutors Hajah Suhana Haji Sudin, Hajah Suryana Haji Radin, Dayangku Didi Nur Azab bin Haji Abdul Latif, and Muhammad Kamarul Afian Abdul Rahman. Sheikh Nordin Sheikh Muhammad also appeared for the defendants.